In this lecture, we will go ahead and add and inject identity to our solution. So let's come to the program.cs file, and previously we only injected the DB context, but we now have to inject the identity packages as well. So inside here, when we add services, before we add authentication, we also want to add the identity solution. So we will use the builder.services method .add identity core, and it takes a type of user, so a T user, which is identity user in our case, and this comes from Microsoft.ASPNET core.identity package. So let's import that over here and in the using statements. After that, we also want to say .add, I need the round brackets over here, and then I will use the method .add roles, because we want to add roles as well, and this takes a type of role as well, which is identity role. So identity role type, and I will use the parentheses for that as well. After that, we will use the add token provider method, and that takes a type which will be data protector token provider, and that takes a type of T user, which is identity user. So all these steps are just one-off steps that we have to take to set up identity along with the JWT authentication that we want. So in here, inside brackets, it needs a provider name, and we can say this is the NZWorks provider. And after that, we will set up the entity framework store that identity will use, and we have the store as the NZWorks auth DB context. So I'll use the method add entity framework stores, and it takes a type which is the NZWorks auth DB context. So it will use this DB context as the entity framework store. Finally, we want to use the method add default token providers, and this basically adds the default token providers used to generate tokens for reset passwords, change emails, and other stuff as well. So we are going to use that method and inject it inside the services as well. So with that, we have set up the identity options over here. So identity inside our solution, but we also want to set up the identity options, which can be accessed by builder.services.configure method. And we want to configure identity options, and it takes the options parameter over here. So if I scroll down, it can take identity options as an action. So options such that, and we will open and close parentheses over here, and these are the options for the password that we want to configure, like how many digits do we want, and how many uppercase or lowercase characters do we want, and what is the length required as well. So there are some default settings, and we will mention all that over here. So options.password.required digit, and that we will set to false, that we don't require a digit. Options.password.require lowercase, so do we require a lowercase character, which is a false as well. And you can set up these settings as per your liking, and I'm just doing this for this application, but you can totally go ahead and change it as per your requirement. So the next one would be options.password.require non-alphanumeric, that's set to false as well. And then options.password.require uppercase, set it to false as well. Again, it is totally optional what you need. And then we'll have the required length. So options.password.require length, and I'll say at least 6 characters. And finally, we'll say options.password.require unique let's say your required unique characters is equal to 1. So at least one unique character is required. So these are the options that you can use to configure your password settings, and you can change it as per your liking. So this was the setup that was required to inject identity into our solution, so that we can in the next few lectures use it inside the controllers and register users and login users as well. So in the next few lectures, let's come back to create a new controller, which will be the auth controller, so that we can create methods like registering and login. So let's see you in the next lecture.